party people. It's your girl Celeste. I'm here with this flickering light. Hopefully there's a ghost in this room. And today I wanted to talk to you about Pisces energy. There's a lot of planets right now. There's like 5 planets right now in the constellation of Pisces, and we recently just had a full moon in Virgo, so that would have activated all of those planets too. I think the planet Neptune and the archetype of Pisces in the 12th house are really hard to kind of understand and wrap our heads around, and they're also really hard to deal with. Like if you have a really Neptune heavy or a Neptune, like a strong archetype of Neptune, Pisces in the 12th house in your own natal chart, then you know the challenges of this. And I'm in a Facebook group with people who have Neptune dominant birth charts, and it's so interesting and so funny to hear the things that they say. And so today I wanted to go over 3 simple, really easy things that you can do to reframe the Neptune energy in your life and to use it better and to be more comfortable with it. Here we go. Okay, so I think the very first thing that we should talk about is like what does the constellation of Pisces and the planet Neptune, what do they represent? So we can look at it in terms of the natural zodiac. So when you go around the zodiac, this would be like your proper side. So there's the first house, survival, instinctual responses, second house, values, third house, communications, fourth house, family, that's the bottom of the chart. And then the fifth house are self-actualization, creative expression, and the sixth house is service and our daily activity. And then in the 7th house, that's where the midway line of the natural zodiac is, in the 7th house, and that's our one-to-one relationships. And then if you move up, there's the constellation of Scorpio, which is about intimacy, commitment, sex, the occult, the hidden things. And then the 9th house, which is the beginning of the, oh, did you see it flicker? Which is the beginning of the collective houses, because the 9th house has to do with our relationship to culture, to religion, to philosophy, our cosmology, the way that we see truth, and the way that we pursue truth, like our perspective of the truth. And then in the 10th house, you have Capricorn with your contribution, responsibilities to the community and to society. In the 11th house, your groups and where you are unique. And then in the 12th house, we have the return to source. The 12th house is about consciousness, which is, it's really like a hot word right now, but it's like, what does that even mean? So the 12th house is about the collective consciousness. It's about the everything. During readings, I often explain the Neptunian archetype as like the universal freeway. There's cars going every which way. There's so much noise, so much commotion. There's just so much going on. It's chaos. It's the everything. It's the collective. It's the everything. And so wherever Neptune and Pisces is in your chart, that's where number one, that's your gateway or your bridge to spirituality, to spirit connection. That's where you will tend to make your spiritual connection and to find deep meaning and transcendence, even in the mundane things. So for example, myself, I have Neptune in my 6th house. And so for me, service is really important. Service is one of the things that brings meaning to my life. And if you've been to my website, my tagline is elevate the mundane. And so finding the spirituality in the things that are mundane and normal and run of the mill, those are the things that I really find deep meaning in. And wherever Neptune and Pisces are in your chart, that is where you will also find deep meaning and experience the fullness and the vastness of everything. So I guess as another example, if somebody had Pisces in their 4th house, it would be family to them. Family would be deeply meaningful. Family would be one of the ways that they feel really spiritually connected and where they feel like they find deep meaning and where they connect with the meaning of life. if somebody had Pisces in their 5th house, it would be through creative expression, through creativity, through pursuing their dreams. That's where they would find deep meaning and connection and the magic of life. And so your Neptune and Pisces placements are really important, but also, like I said, because it's kind of like, it's like the great everything, it can also be a place where we really feel a lot of overwhelm, a lot of even overstimulation. Some key words that are connected to the Pisces archetype are victim, martyr, empathy. So because this energy is very feeling, it's connected to the deep love of the universe, this is also a place where we can tend to feel victimized, put ourselves in positions where we are taken advantage of because of this deep feeling of empathy, or where we can have a tendency to martyr ourselves, because it's like, you know, when you feel the great pain of the people around you, you just want to do something to help. So that's why those things are connected to the Pisces archetype. So the beautiful thing about this energy is that it's very creative, it's very connected, it's very transcendental. So it can really help you to connect with the beauty of life and connect with the deep love and the deep care that surrounds us. You know, like if you think about how nature just sustains itself, it cares for everything and everyone, and it has like this beautiful intricate system and all that, right? Like that's, if you can kind of like really dig deep and like go deeper into that is like a Pisces line of thinking. Yes, but it can also be super overwhelming. It can be overstimulating. It can have a tendency to overgive. It can have a tendency for disillusionment, because this is a place where we tend to give deep meaning to things, like overall meaning to things. So it's like, you know, imagine that, you know, you have Neptune in your 6th house and you're serving, and that gives you a deep sense of purpose and a deep sense of meaning. But then when your ability to serve or to contribute in a way that feels like service to you is taken away, it's like all of your meaning, like all of the meaning is gone for you, right? Or like somebody who has Neptune in their 4th house, if they like disconnect with their family, it's like, what is my life about then? What is the ultimate meaning? And that is the purpose of the Pisces energy, to bring us back to those really deep questions of what is the deeper meaning. And the disillusionment that happens in the Pisces archetype happens because we give the greatest meaning to things, to experiences, to people, to relationships. And when those things get taken away from us, it leaves us in this place of bereavement where we wonder, what is the point of it all? What is the meaning in it all? What is meaningful? What does meaning even mean? And so if you have lots of Pisces energy in your life, these 3 steps will help you. And if you have a child who has lots of Pisces energy, my first son actually has like 4 planets in Pisces, and then his sun is at 29 degrees of Aquarius. So there's just like huge chunk of energy there. So he has such strong Pisces energy, and I have lots of Pisces energy in my chart too. And so these are things that I use for myself to help myself work around this energy and to use it well. And it also has been a really powerful tool for my son to help him to reframe things and to kind of move into a mental and emotional space where he's not so overwhelmed or stimulated or, you know, in that really deep emotional space where he feels like victimized or like he can't move. Yeah, so here you go. Number 1. And what's super cool is that the natural zodiac really gives us tips, and well, it doesn't give us tips, it teaches us how to use and how to integrate the energies based on how they aspect the other energies. So number one, to reframe your Pisces energy, create labels. In the natural zodiac, Pisces in the 12th house squares Gemini, which is in the 3rd house. So a square is a 90-degree angle, it's like a point of, like a little point of collision. And this collision means that there is work to be done here. And so the square between Neptune, or Pisces, the 12th house, and Gemini, the 3rd house, tells us that there needs to be labels created in order to properly use the Pisces energy. So what do I mean by that? Well, just imagine, like if you're on a freeway, or, imagine the everything, right? The everything of life. Like Pisces energy can just be so overwhelmed and overstimulated and feel everything. It's like the person who walks into a room and they kind of feel hit by all the emotions that are there. Or they go to a meeting and they feel like they kind of know like what was being talked about before they were there. It's like, these are the people that really feel everything, and it can be overwhelming. And especially if you don't know that about yourself, you can find yourself being swayed to and fro because this energy is so porous and it just like takes on everything. And so something that's really important to do with this energy is to create labels. So the function of the 3rd house, the Gemini archetype, is that it allows us to create labels, which number one, allow us to have security, because then we can communicate our needs and our wants and our likes and our dislikes. And it also allows us to mentally compartmentalize everything. So Pisces is very right brain, but the Gemini archetype is very left brain. And so in order to create labels, we need to move into the left brain. And when we're feeling everything and when we're experiencing everything and feeling overwhelmed, it really helps to put labels onto things. Be like, okay, I don't just feel like crap. I feel angry. I feel frustrated. I feel sad. I feel whatever. This is something that is really helpful to my son, because when he is kind of like picking up on everything, I'm just like, well, I understand that you just feel like, generally like crap. And also, can we dig into it a little bit? Like, what specifically do you feel like? Where do you feel it in your body? And those will give you some good clues too. And then when you have that information, or I don't feel comfortable in that friendship, or I don't feel comfortable in that relationship. And it's like, well, why? Why don't you feel comfortable in that relationship? Give it some labels so that you can understand how to move forward with it. Do you not feel comfortable because you feel like you're never listened to? You're always just hearing everybody else's problems because people know that you're such a great listener, right? Like, why do you feel uncomfortable in that space? Or what are you feeling in that space that you're picking up everything? Give it labels. And then when you give it labels, you know how to deal with it. Because feeling like shit is one thing, but there are various like ways that could be addressed. But if you want to narrow it down a little bit, like, I feel sad, I feel scared, that really helps those labels really help to know how to address that problem. So number one, use labels. Number two, the 12th house makes a sextile in the natural zodiac to Capricorn, which is the 10th house. So the Capricorn archetype is about structure. It's about the structure that allows for protection. So we often talk about this energy as being like boundaries, but the boundaries that they create are to protect. They're for protection. And so, the Pisces energy can feel very like unprotected. It can feel very abandoned. So for example, people who have their moons in the 12th house sometimes feel like they weren't given nurturing in a way that made them feel protected as a child. And so, if you can understand this feeling of just being like left open to the void, imagine like floating in outer space and everything is around you, or, sleeping in the forest and you could hear and see and feel everything, right? And smell everything. And it's like, there's nothing around you to create a feeling of safety and protection. And so the sextile that happens between Pisces and Capricorn tells us that there is an opportunity here to create some structure or a boundary. And the structure or the boundary that would be created would allow for a feeling of inner security and a feeling of protection. So going back to the examples, if you had Pisces in your 7th house, it would be important for you to create boundaries around your relationships so that you didn't feel so like so that you felt safer in your relationship, so that you weren't just allowing any type of behavior to be around you, even if it made you uncomfortable. And, you know, it's really hard for this energy to really create those boundaries, because it's like, you know, if you feel someone else's pain, or if you like have this like deep empathy with what somebody is going through, you know, it's easy to just be like, oh, well, you know, like, I don't want to hurt them more. I don't want them to have to go through another hard thing because of me. I can just put up with it because I'm the stronger one. But here's the deal. They are on their own journey and they have their own work to do. And your work to do is to learn to create boundaries so that you can feel safe, so that you can move freely in the world. Excuse me. Number 3 and last, to reframe Pisces energy, consider how your path is different from everybody else's path. Have you ever heard the story about the elephant? And I don't even actually know where the story comes from, but it's a metaphor for truth. It's a story about where there's an elephant and there's a whole bunch of blindfolded people placed all around the elephant, and they ask the people to, you know, to feel the elephant and be like, what do you feel? What is an elephant like? You know, and the person who feels the elephant's tail, they're like, the elephant is like a rope. And the person who feels its ears are like, an elephant is like long and thin. And the people who feel its side are like, an elephant is like a brick wall, right? And I mean, they are all true. They're all true, but the truth that they experience is based on their context and their positioning, right? And their experience. And because we are humans, because we have the limitations of our form, we cannot experience the entirety of all of the truth, right? We all experience the truth, but not all of it in its entirety. And so in the natural zodiac, Pisces makes a square to Sagittarius, which is in the 9th house. And so again, the square, do you see the light? Again, the square means that there is work to be done. And so the Sagittarius archetype is about the search beyond. It's about looking beyond the borders, seeing beyond yourself. That's why long trips are included in it. Long trips and like advanced studies, philosophy. It's the search for meaning and the search for what is beyond us right now. Like the search to see beyond what you can see where you are right now. That's the Sagittarius archetype. And so that makes a square to Pisces. And so what it tells us. And so the square between Pisces and Sagittarius tells us that not everyone will experience the same version, the same side, the whole totality of the truth. So the way that you are experiencing life and the truth that you are experiencing is different from what other people are experiencing. I mean, maybe it's the same as some people, right? But I mean, there are some things in your life that are necessarily different from everybody because you're a unique human being. And so the square that Pisces makes to Sagittarius reminds us to stay in our own lane, that this is your own story, that it's okay and even good for you to follow your own truth. So even though you are feeling the everything of everybody else, you have a story that is unique to you. And it's beautiful if you follow it. All right, my light is still flickering here. It's getting a little bit weird. But I'm your girl Celeste, and today I shared with you 3 ways that you can reframe Pisces energy so that it can work better in your life. So remember, number 1, create labels so that you can understand what you're working with. Number 2, create boundaries so that you have this feeling of inner protection and inner security that you can move around with. And number 3, embrace your unique story and know that your path to the truth is beautiful just like everyone else's, and it's your responsibility to follow your path. That's it, that's all. I'll see you next time. Bye.